So welcome. I'm delighted to say this is actually our 25th webinar, and we are very much looking forward to hearing more about Bismark Opoku's work, and the talk's going to be about his bat research and conservation work in Ghana. So Bismark is actually a PhD researcher at the University of Ulm, and he's supervised by Professor Mark Tschapka, and I hope I pronounced that wrong, and also thank you, and also Annette Denzinger from the University of Tübingen. So Bismarck's doctoral research is dedicated to understanding habitat use and echolocation behaviour of bats in a human-modified landscape in Ghana. And he's currently exploring foraging and echolocation behaviour of West African bats using radio tracking, acoustic surveys, and molecular dietary analysis. He's also a volunteer researcher for an NGO, which we'll be finding more about, called BATlife Ghana, who work with local communities across his study area to promote bats and cave conservation. And the research is targeting insights into sensory ecology, and it's sort of creating, really important baseline data to guide monitoring and conservation of West African bats. So thank you very, very much, Bismark. I'm delighted to have you here, and I'm just going to hand over to you now.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. I am equally happy to be here today to talk to everyone. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Rachel, for the introduction and for the opportunity to talk about what I'm doing in Ghana about bats and what our local NGO BATlife also has been doing here. I hope you enjoy my talk. So for those who are not familiar with where Ghana is a country in Western Africa, just off the coast of the Gulf of Guinea. It's actually a small country with quite diversified topography and vegetation. So basically in the north of Ghana, we have a lot of savanna and also along the coastal area. But more towards the southern portion, just a moment, I try to move this bar down so I can really see. Yeah. So in the south of Ghana, there is also a lot of forests. But in between these savanna and forest vegetation types, is a lot of, it's a transition zone with admixtures of vegetations that are savanna and forest. And this diverse vegetation types is reflected in the diversity of fauna in the region. So there are as much as 860 butterfly species in Ghana, and over 700 species of birds. So for a small area, that's quite impressive. And pictured here is the Atiwa dotted border, which is a critically endangered butterfly, which can be found only in Ghana in the Atiwa forest, to be precise. And there are also other Upper Guinean endemics, such as the white-necked rockfowl. But Ghana is not only rich in fauna and flora, but culturally a very diverse place. So there are different cultures with different identities and festivals across. So it's quite a rich country in terms of species and in terms of culture. And I hope someday all of you can visit it. But zooming in on the bat richness in the country, Ghana is one of the 6 predicted hotspots on the African continent. And so you have areas south and the east of the Volta region, somewhere between Ghana and Togo, predicted to hold a lot of species. And truly, there are over 90 species that has been recorded here in Ghana. As of my last check yesterday at the Bat Species of the World website, they list 91 species. And truly, yeah, there is quite a diversity. And one cannot really pick a favorite among all these amazing bats. But for me, I always settle on the yellow-winged bats, which is quite beautiful, but even so, with this 90 species, there could be even more, as it has been recently shown that the widespread Kafer complex consists of at least 4 distinct species. So yes, the diversity here, it's comparable to the diversity elsewhere on the continent, such as Kenya, with over 100 species. But in light of all this diversity, there are a lot of threats to species right here. And these pressures are not so different from the pressures across the tropics, and mainly driven by changes in land use, by deforestation and agriculture. I will stop sharing now and I show you a video of forest lost in Ghana over these 35 years. So in the last 35 years, Ghana has lost about 85% of its forests. I hope you can see this. So quite dramatic loss of forests last 35 years. So when we zoom in into areas such as the Atiwa forest, it looks really bleak. And so now we're just going to look a little bit around a particular forest region, the Atiwa Range, which is a globally significant area for biodiversity in Ghana. And when we look at the changes that have occurred here, they are really dramatic over the last 35 years. A lot of this area, a lot of the vegetation here has been cleared, and it's even more threatened by plans by the government of Ghana to mine bauxite in this area. I stop sharing now and then I go back to the actual presentation. So in light of these pressures that are common across the tropics, there is also the additional threat from mining, what is locally known as galamsey in Ghana, which is on the rise in Ghana over the last few years. So you have people taking strips of land, bare of vegetation, and then polluting water bodies as well. And in most cases, these areas are never reclaimed. So you have, you go into forests where mining has taken place, and this is the kind of picture you see. But for me, the most distressing part is the lack of political will on the part of government of Ghana to develop sustainably. For example, you have the only upland evergreen forest in Ghana with bauxite deposits. So government is trying to mine bauxite in this area, yet it's facing a lot of opposition from NGOs and civil society, but still they're going ahead to make plans to do this. So there is a lot of pressure. There is a lot of pressure, anthropogenic pressure in this area. But even so, in light of all these pressures, most of the bat species in Ghana are considered least concern, with only about six species that are considered near threatened with decrease in population or unknown population trend. And one of these species is the Eposidos genesi, which is the focus of my PhD research, and I will talk about this a little bit in the talk. There is also 6 insectivorous bat species that we do not have sufficient information to have their conservation status assessed. So one of this is the Robbins House bat, which BATlife Ghana has been working over the years to kind of change this. But the question has always been, how much do we really know about our local bat population? I'm afraid we don't know much. We know quite little because research on bats has generally lagged behind, as in the case across West Africa and even the sub-region as a whole, of course, with notable exceptions to South Africa, where quite a lot is being done on bats. But I wouldn't want to dwell so much on the reasons why this has happened, because we all know too well that issues related to funding, low capacity, low institutional capacity has always led to very few research done in this area. But for me, what is exciting and has been happening in Ghana in the last decade is the change that has come with all of this. So basically, since the colonial era, mostly research on bat has been quite descriptive. People collecting species for taxonomic research, and mostly also describing community compositions in different areas. But in the last decade, there's been a lot of focus on this zoonotic research in Ghana. And this has been good in the sense that most of these zoonotic research projects have incorporated the One Health concept. So they are bringing different disciplines to understand how disease transmission pathways work. And ecology, this has benefited the study of certain selected species. So now we have detailed studies on the ecology of specific species. And this has been really like transformative in terms of how much we know about our bats in general. So I will just highlight a couple of examples from projects that have really shaped our understanding in the last decade. For example, there was this project that was sponsored by the German Foundation for Science, basically from the University of Ulm and then Charité, as well as KNUST in Ghana and KCCR in Ghana. So what this project sought to do was that it was meant to understand virus biology and the host ecology, as well as the human dimensions to coronaviruses. And I basically am biased towards the ecological aspects. And for me, one of the fundamental things that has changed in Ghana is that there were a lot of capacity building. So you have world experts like my professor and Prof. Tschapka coming to Ghana to run field courses. And this has been really instrumental in our training, giving us the tools to be able to do more detailed ecological studies in Ghana. So for the first time, studies like studies on home range and understanding the foraging behavior of widespread species, such as the Hippocidrus ruba, was possible. And with these projects now, we're able to know, for example, how far these bats are traveling to feed, the habitat's preferences, among others. And this has really deepened our understanding of common species. The other project that is worth mentioning also is the Dynamic Drivers of Diseases in Africa project. And yeah, I am not mostly talking about the virological aspect because I am no virologist and I wouldn't want to go into that. So one other thing that has happened with this project was that there was also an important ecological aspect focusing on Gambian epiloted fruit bats. And for the first time since GRIPS 1998, Kofi Amponsah has provided the distribution of fruit bats in Ghana, updated the distribution list of fruit bats in Ghana. And this is quite an improvement over the last so many years of bat research in Ghana. But also studies like this very one, the seasonal variations in food availability of the Gambian epauleted fruit bats, have highlighted the importance of these bats to our ecosystems. And they've shown us, they've really deepened our understanding of the ecology of the species. But at the same time, these studies have not only deepened our understanding, but at the same time, they've shown us the threats that these animals face in Ghana. For example, there is straw-colored fruit bats, which it's known they actually in Ghana, you can find them in big cities like Accra, in Kumasi, and you can find colonies up to 1 million bats in the city. And it's been estimated that just a colony of 150 straw-colored fruit bats in Ghana can disperse as much as 300,000 seeds in just a single night. So they are helping to really replant deforested areas in the country. And they help to replant as much as 800 hectares of forest per year in Ghana. So yes, and this has only been possible just in the last decade. And in as much as we are getting to know the substantial economic contributions of these animals to our country, we are also aware of the threats. In this paper, Cummins estimates about 128,000 bats to be sold annually, are killed annually. And so there's a lot of pressures on bats. Another study that has also highlighted the importance and the threats to bats. It's this particular study that shows that yes, cave sites in different agricultural areas are exposed to several threats. For example, the cave in Kwaman and Framobom Cave, which hosts populations of the near-threatened Jones-leaf bat. This cave, it's used by some church groups for church service. And through these studies and through the work of BATlife Ghana, we're doing a couple of things to kind of help conserve such caves. So the importance of capacity building by big institutions coming in can never be downplayed. But at the same time, we need local actions to support long-term impacts for bat research in Ghana. So this was the main reason behind setting up BATlife Ghana in 2014 by Evans and Nkrumah. So the idea was to promote bat research and conservation while building local capacity among Ghanaians, and as well as educating the masses about the importance of bats and how we can coexist together. So now I talk briefly about some of the things that we've been doing in Ghana. One of the first things we've been doing, especially in central Ghana, in the areas around the Ashanti and Brown-Hafu region, is that we've been exploring for caves, because in these areas there are a lot of rocks, and then we've been looking out for bat roosts. And in looking out for bat roosts, we also documenting the species composition in these caves. And more recently, we've come across at least 3 new caves that have populations of the near-threatened Hippocytos genesi. And it's not only about documenting these bat assemblages, but also we're documenting threats and trying to understand how local perceptions, so as to be able to contribute to the conservation of these caves in the near future. And for us, one of the things that has really helped is that we're building we are working a lot with local communities. So we have the advantage of promoting exchanges between communities where there are known bat routes that are being protected. For example, in the Boyum, in the Brown and Half region of Ghana, there is a colony of bats in one community. And what the community has done is that they've been able to protect this roost, and they allow even for tourism in this route. So they are getting benefits from these bat routes. And one of the things we're trying to encourage in Kwaman is that we're bringing elders from Kwaman, where I initially showed that there are people using bat caves for church service, to kind of exchange ideas with the elders here in Boyum community, to understand the challenges and also the opportunities that has come with protecting these bat caves. So we're promoting knowledge exchange between these two communities so that the community will be in a better position to protect their bat caves. It's not like an organization coming in and taking the responsibility that yes, we are going to protect the bat cave and the community feeling left out. So what we're trying to encourage in the long term is that we want the communities to really feel that this is their resource, and the only people that are capable of managing such resource is they themselves. So we're promoting a lot of knowledge exchanges between these communities in order to protect bat caves. So the other thing that we are also doing is that because we work in quite rural settings, we engage with communities a lot. And in rural settings, in the rural Ghana are quite different from what's in the city. So we, as much as possible, we are in the community, engaging residents as well as major stakeholders like chiefs and sub-chiefs. We sometimes have to even go to church in these communities, especially in places where they are really religious, just to try and get the message across. And the other aspect of what BATlife does in most of these rural areas is that most of the people, although they are quite knowledgeable about things, there are things they haven't, especially when you talk about bats. Yes, they know bats are eating fruits, they're doing this, but sometimes in reality, they haven't really seen this, and especially with school children. So we try to also bring a lot of education into classrooms, into church settings, even for church settings, because in religious settings, people are more likely to listen to their pastors, their imams. So we try to capitalize on that and get to talk to people about bats even during such times. We cannot definitely, as an organization, also forge ahead without really training new people. And one of the things that has really helped us is that Evans Nkrumah is a lecturer at KNUST. So he gets to always bring his students out so that we're able to train new students. This is one of his master's students that I worked with a couple of years back. So we get to take them to the fields, try to teach them, train them in how to properly handle bats, how to set up mist nets, and do basic things that are necessary for bat research. And also in Ghana, we're working with, depending on where we are working, for example, at the moment, we're working in Bonfobri area. So we're working together with the Ghana Wildlife Authority. And when we go into parks, we also try to train rangers on how to do basic things and that are important for bat research. But when it comes, as part of what we do at BATlife, we do also our own research. And one of the species that we've been focusing on in the last couple of years is the Robin's house bat. This is a rare West African house bat. And as at 2003, there were the largest number known to science was around 10, 15 or something like this. And Evans and Paul Tehoda have been leading efforts since then around Krukuswa Hills Reserve to be able to document these species in different localities. Also, we have an exciting paper coming out soon about this Robin's house bat. And in this paper, we try to look at how habitat modifications affect such rare species such as this one. And then we model the distribution as well of the species. And yeah, just to give you a tip of what is to come, now we know at least 92 individuals are known to science through the efforts of BATlife Ghana. So watch this space for this paper. So one of the things also we've been doing around this Krukuswa Hills Reserve is that we've been experimenting with bat boxes, trying to see if rare species such as this Robin's house bat might occupy such new roost. But so far we've not been successful, but we keep trying. The other part of our research is that we're collecting acoustic data, that we're trying to develop our own core libraries for the regions that we work in, so that in the near future we can go ahead and do a lot of monitoring. Yeah, so basically this is what BATlife Ghana has been doing in the last couple of years. But moving on to my own bit, a little bit about my PhD, what I have been doing since I started last year. So all too well, most of us from the tropics are familiar with how land use are changing. So there's a lot of deforestation. And with this deforestation comes a lot of agricultural fields. So in this picture, you see there are a lot of caves here. And within these caves, there are actual bat roosts. But just in the surrounding area of these bat roosts, it's totally agricultural landscape. And one of the things I'm trying to do, especially in central Ghana, is that we're trying to understand how threatened species such as the Jones leaf bat use the landscape. So what I am doing is that I'm exploring a lot. I'm sampling in different locations across the landscapes, in farmlands, in forest reserves, and then in fallow areas that have been farmed and developed to be regrown. So through this, I hope to answer a couple of questions on the diet and the behavior, the foraging behavior of the Jones leaf nose bat. And I'm basically doing this through radio tracking. So for example, this is Kwaman. So within all these plantains that you see are actual bat roost. And one of the things that I am doing is that I'm attaching transmitters to the back of the Jones leaf nose bat, and we're tracking them through the landscape to see where they are going to forage. And through this, we hope to gather some baseline data that will be important in their conservation. The other thing that I am doing as part of my PhD is also I'm collecting fecal samples that I will analyze in the not too long future to look at what the bats are eating. And of course, use this. If they are eating any species of agricultural importance, use this to kind of serve as an educational basis for local communities to help the conservation of the bats. The other aspect, so in order to really get a good sense of what the insectivorous bats are doing across the landscape, I have also installed 10 audio mode recorders in different landscaping forests, in tree farms such as cocoa farms, oil palm plantations, cashew farms, and also in areas that have been left to regrow, just to have an idea of how bats are used in these areas. So basically, this is what my PhD sought to do. Yeah, and all too soon we are at the end of my talk, and we would like to say thank you to our sponsors and also our partners in Ghana. And this is the website of BATlife Ghana, but currently it's under construction. So in the next couple of weeks, it should come up, but feel free anytime to check it out. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much for that, Bismark. A lot of work for sure. So if you've got any questions, you can either raise your hand if you like and unmute yourself and ask them, or feel free to put them in the chat. So Quincy says, great job, Bismark. I must admit, yes, I was just kind of wondering, so obviously you were saying about the deforestation was, really, quite stark. Looking at it, how you presented it there was great to see the time frame. And so is it all pretty much farming, and is it kind of large scale farming?
So it's not a lot of large scale farming, but it's a lot of, there are serious issues with mining, for example. So with this mining, the whole vegetation is cut off. And then you have literally just bare lands. And in the last couple of years, this has really increased to the extent that I think a year ago or something, there was a complete ban on mining in Ghana by the government. Wow. That's quite a horrible scene.
Yeah, it is. And do you think the sort of mining companies, would they be open to you trying to work with them on any restoration projects, or is that pretty closed doors?
So with big mining companies like Anglo Gold Ashanti and the rest, you don't see this kind of thing because yes, they have their own ways of doing reclamations and that. But this is mostly small scale mining, which is done by local people. So you don't really have a lot of big organizations doing this. These are just a group of people with a license trying to do this. So that is where the problem is.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's yeah, and also changes in kind of also sort of farming practices as well, especially if it if there are some, there's also pesticide issues as well. It's quite, it was quite scary to see all the deforestation around those cave sites. It's a huge problem. Certainly we're also having in Southern Africa. And I see there's another question because I've got a few. Let me. So Mari has asked, has there been any bat roost destruction as a result of anger or blaming bats over COVID-19?
Not that I am aware of, because I think one of the good things, I wouldn't say good or bad things that happened, was that during the time of Ebola, there was a lot of education by the government on the need to stay away from bats and caves and all that. So when COVID started, hardly did I hear any news of persecution of bats in Ghana. But well, Evans, I don't know if you know anything in that regard.
Yes, actually pertaining to COVID-19, I've not heard anything like that. But during the time of the Ebola, especially in one of our communities, the chief actually mentioned that they had met and they had decided that they were going to spray all the bats that are using their rooftops. So there was a planting that they were going to do. just that we were there earlier on to interact with them, so they understood that now that they were not a threat to them, so they left the bus. Otherwise, they were going to really use chemicals to spray them and kill all of them. So, but for COVID-19, I've not heard anything like that.
Okay, thank you. And the next person is Quincy has a question. So if Quincy wants to ask his question now.
Hi, Bismark. Great presentation. I was just wondering though, what is the government of Ghana's response towards bat conservation? Of course, we heard of different what has been the response towards it? Are there in
Quincy, you're breaking up, so I didn't really hear the first part.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes, I was wondering, what has been the government of Ghana's response towards bat conservation?
Oh, generally, I would say generally it's quite a dicey situation because, for example, a true example I made. This is a place that is providing water, supplying water to at least 5 million Guineans. Even if we're not talking about the animals there or the plants or anything of this sort, this is important to the citizens. And yet the government is still insisting on mining bauxite, even there are a lot of opposition, I mean, from NGOs, civil society and all that, but they're still going on with the plans. So it's how much more bats? But the good thing about bat conservation in Ghana is that it's not really at the national level, it's been at the community level. For example, you have places like Tanobwase, which is a sacred grove. So you have a community with their own sacred grove, which happens to host a lot of bats. And the community has taken efforts working with the Wildlife Division of Ghana to protect these routes. And for example, also in Foraging, where there is the cave actually that the bat inhabits is a shrine of the community. So the community is putting in efforts to protect this. So that has been our situation in Ghana.
Great, thank you. And we've got a question from Susie who said, excellent presentation. Have the farmers' views of bats changed with knowledge that they are controlling crop pests, perhaps?
I wouldn't say yes, because even with this small scale farming, we have a lot of pesticides used. And when I went to do my field work season, I was actually trying to catch moth in this agricultural landscape, and it was a disaster. Like I put up light traps for nights on end that I couldn't catch anything. Then you see all these bottles of weedicides and everywhere. So it's quite widespread. But one of the things that we're hoping to change, it's that collecting this data, trying to look at what the bats are doing, are eating, just to have evidence at a local scale to talk to farmers about. Because yes, most people, you tell them, oh, yeah, bats are eating agricultural pests. Yes, these are studies from elsewhere that are good, but in reality, the local people cannot appreciate this because it's not their pests that is being eaten by these bats. So we're trying to do these studies in order to inform more local conservation efforts.
Great. So we've got a question. So Dave is going to unmute himself. Also, anybody who's speaking, feel free to put your videos back on. Sorry. I'll hand over to Dave.
Thanks, Bismark. That was a really interesting talk. I just had a quick question about the methodology when you're doing your diet analysis. Have you got sort of the protocol for that sort of sorted? Is that things that you've decided upon yet?
Dave, could you repeat?
Sorry. So when you come to the molecular diet analysis, is this a protocol that you've already got sorted that you'll be following? Or
No, actually, I have just come back from the field. I have a couple of issues even with my samples, but yes, I don't have the protocol that I'll be following soon.
Okay.
A protocol in place. But I have seen, I think I saw a preprint of your paper about something like this.
Yes, so yeah, I'm asking because it's kind of my area, and in fact, I'm part of a team that are making a big CO1 database in the Volta region of insects. So if that's the region you're looking at, perhaps we could be of some use to you.
Actually, I am mostly looking at Kwaman in the Ashanti region, but all the same, yes, we could talk about a couple of things.
Yeah, just as there's not many insect sequences for Ghana in general, it's probably the closest data that there would be.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Dave.
Well, that's what we love. It's really great having people connecting. So if you guys don't have each other's details, then you can always send us an email and we'll connect you. But otherwise, just share your details privately on the chat would be great. So I have a query about how difficult is the radio tracking, I have to say, because I was trying to look into doing this in Namibia and the roads. I just thought, this could be quite tough, because also we didn't have a lot of vegetation, so our bats could go potentially quite far. So yeah, I'm very intrigued about your radio tracking and how tough it is.
Yeah, so yeah, it's one of the toughest aspects of this work, because the funny thing is that in the areas we work, and it's a bit hilly, so you have the bat roost in a valley, and then when it comes out, the next moment you realize it's up there somewhere and it's out, it's gone completely. So you're almost trekking up and down a hill, and it's frustrating, especially with the rains coming.
Yeah, and do you have, because I know, so I was helping actually Orly Rasgal with some of her PhD work in the Isle of Wight, and if she lost the bat for more than 20 minutes, we couldn't use that night's worth of data, so we were racing around crazily in the car, and I think, and also there's quite a lot of sort of valleys, so we did sometimes lose a bat, but luckily but it's quite difficult. So I think, so yours is all kind of on foot. So
this is on foot because the terrain does not allow you to actually use a car.
Yeah.
Because these are totally like farms. There are no like access road for you to go through with a car. So basically on foot, and sometimes, yes, there is one particular story that I always am frustrated anytime I tell it, because there is this bat we were tracking for almost 15 days. And then the final, on the 15th day, when we got to know where it was feeding, we had it for almost 3 hours moving up and down, and then we were really excited. The next day we went back to this site and someone had set fire to the place. So the whole place was burnt and the bat didn't show up. So it's been crazy, especially with radio tracking. So this, even in this picture, I am trying in the daytime, trying to find if the bat has gone to another roost or not, because sometimes they don't return to the same roost.
Right, yeah. Okay, so, and yeah, but at least actually 15 days worth of data, I'm quite jealous. That's pretty impressive.
No, 15 days, there are so many days that you get nothing.
Oh, nothing. Oh, sorry, 15 days. I thought you meant 15 days of one bat data. I was thinking, gosh, that's quite a lot, because yeah, I would have thought the tracker would have.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Yeah. And yes, I suppose, but I guess a lot of the bat loss, because there must be a lot of food availability, within that area, so they're not having to travel too far for you to kind of be able to find them. But yeah, it must be quite tricky. So Shoda has said, great presentation, it's been really informative, and Susie said thank you very much. So I don't know, we've got a couple more minutes if anybody wants to put any more questions in the chat. And I'm quite intrigued as to how come you don't have a leaf nose bat as one of your favorite bats, or a cave bat. So
actually, I mean, not favorites. It's very difficult to play favorites with these bats. But I really like the yellow-wing bats. But when it comes to the leaf nose bat, of course, my favorite is the Junesi with all this big years, it's really nice to have them in your hands.
Excellent, excellent. And so kind of how did, I suppose, well, I guess your PhD fieldwork, have you come to the end of your actual fieldwork, or have you still got quite a lot to do? How far are you within your PhD?
I am just at the beginning, because this is still my first year, and this was my first field work. So I go back in January to do additional field work, and hopefully if things work out as it should work, then perhaps there might not be a need to go the third time, but whatever may, it's possible that I go a third time as well.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. And yeah, so does anybody else have any questions? If you want to raise your hand or ask in the chat. And then in the meanwhile, I suppose, kind of what would you say has been your, I guess, best experience so far of your PhD?
Best experience so far. Well, I think I would say there's been a couple of highlights. So far, I've had the chance to meet Professor Hans Schnitzler, who is like a big name when it comes to echolocation. I met him with Marco in Tübingen the first time we visited, and then we had a good chat. It was a nice experience to meet people that you read their works and everything. And it's, yeah, for me, it's one of the highlights. Definitely it is. Excellent.
And then just, I suppose, finally, is there anything from a BATlife Ghana perspective that, you know, so kind of, I know you're obviously doing an incredible amount of work, but is there anything else you wanted to mention or say anything about BATlife?
Yeah, I think I will, I will let Ivan say a few words, and then perhaps I will add up on that.
Well, thank you, Bismarck. So for BATlife, we are still working. It's very sad that unfortunately our website is down. So very soon it will be up. I spoke with our, the guy who is maintaining our website. He said he has to migrate it onto a new platform or something like that. So he was, by the end of the month, completed. But there is still so many works that we have to do, especially he mentioned that at, Scotophilus nucella, we recently identified a new forest reserve where it is, and that place has never seen any form of conservation education, or people are not very much aware of conservation in general. So we are planning to go there to educate the community about what they have and so many things. So there's still we are still very far away in terms of real conservation work in Ghana here. And we hope that we'll be able to energize lots of young people to take up the challenge and to help with our cause. So I think basically that's all about BATlife Ghana. And I want to add that when Bismarck was presenting, he mentioned that our paper is coming out soon concerning the Scotophilus nucella, and that's very true. But in the upcoming Society for Conservation Biology conference, which I learned to be virtual in December, I'll be giving a presentation on this animal, talk presentation. So those of you who attend, then you get more to know more about what he mentioned about. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, Evans. I think one of the biggest challenge, of course, in Ghana is that we have a lot of species, and there are so many areas, especially where David's work and in the Volta region, that has not been really explored. So going forward, I mean, looking for funds to kind of explore areas is a bit, difficult. And most of these species are least concern species. So nobody wants to throw money at you trying to look at this. But in the future, one of the things that BATlife would be doing is to try and have more studies on local species, and then try to grow this network, bat research network, in neighboring countries like Togo, where, I mean, I live in Ghana, but I don't know anyone doing bat research in Togo. you know, so we kind of have a regional integration across.
Yeah, no, you're right. And actually, just like you say, increasing the network is so important, isn't it, across Africa, and linking people and getting that training that you need. And also just regards with your, you know, your acoustic surveys, was quite an impressive amount of audio whilst you're putting out. But do you have a reasonable kind of call library? Are you creating one? Because that's quite difficult too, right? Acoustic surveys.
Yeah, so we're trying also to create a reference call library. And since I came back from the field, one of the things I've been doing is trying to manually measure some of the hand calls that we've taken and try to develop this base data before we can look at the acoustic data from the audio notes. So it's one of the things we're really looking forward to doing.
Fantastic. Well, you know, there's a fantastic talk. Thank you very much for your time. I know it's incredibly busy starting, you know, doing all your PhD work, and you're doing such a lot, and also, of course, volunteering your time as well. So we really appreciate it. So Roseanne has also said, very interesting presentation. Thank you very much. So I think on behalf of all of us, I'd like to say thank you very, very much to Bismark. Yeah, please do share the video. We'll be putting it on YouTube, so if you let people know who couldn't make it today. And yeah, thank you very much, all of you, for coming along, and especially any new viewers. Thanks very much. Take care.
Take care. Bye.